Delali, and then also Force. Welcome to the show.
It's a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to be around.
Yeah, so Champions League action back again after the long break. We saw some, interesting matchups in the round of 16. But then, trust me, it doesn't even get better in the quarterfinals where you have some of the big guns, being pitted against each other. Quickly, let me start off with you, Delali. Let's look at it game by game. Let's start off with the Arsenal Real Madrid game. Let's look at the chances of, these two clubs. They've combined won the Champions League 15 times. And funny enough, just one side has won it 15 times. Arsenal are yet to win it. So I'm looking at how the matchup is going to be. But Delali, what are your impressions about this particular one?
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting game, like the fact that Arsenal are yet to win the Champions League before ever in their history. It's kind of interesting. It's one of the stats that you struggle to believe, but it's actually the truth. Madrid themselves, obviously, we know they are pedigree in the Champions League. If you are being very honest and straightforward, you would say Arsenal have had a better run in the Champions League because they've been kind of great with goals that they've scored. Basically team that they've played. If you look at the performances they showed and how they managed to beat PSV as many goals as possible. But Real Madrid, on the other hand, they grind the results. Like they've not been vintage, but when they like their game against Atletico, for instance, like if you compare how Arsenal qualified into this stage and how Madrid managed to qualify, you would realize that Arsenal were a bit more vintage. But Madrid, typical of Madrid, in the Champions League, they do what they do best. No matter how the opponent is great, they find some miraculous way and win. Look at that Alvarez penalty, like a lot of drama for Real Madrid to qualify. So when you look at it, like on paper, and both teams' performance in the Champions League, you may think Arsenal may have stand a better chance. But for me, if you look at Real Madrid themselves and the fact that they've won it 15 times and Arsenal are yet to win, clearly tells you that it's a game that Real Madrid, no matter how not great they've been in the competition so far, they would come out poised and they would come out as the favourites. And I think Madrid obviously are the favourites in this competition because of how they managed to qualify to this level. Although maybe the momentum with which they qualified against Atletico may have died down, but this is the Champions League. They find a way to show up. And also looking at the fact that when they played against Atletico, they did it with less fancied players. Most of their players were injured. This time around, they are expecting some of them to make a return. They're expecting the players to find their mojo. And it makes it more difficult for Arsenal. But Arsenal themselves have given their fans a bit of hope that maybe this is a competition this is Real Madrid. If they are able to beat Real Madrid, maybe they can stand a chance.
Maybe they
can stand a chance of winning the competition. So it's a game that, for me, Real Madrid out and out favorites.
You think Madrid are favorites?
Madrid are easily favorites.
Easily favorites.
But Arsenal will be motivated on the back of the fact that they are playing against a favourite in this competition, and if only if they can give a little more than themselves, they can go past Real Madrid, and after that they may stand a chance of winning a title. Because now, whether they like it or not, I don't think they will win the English Premier League, so they would be out of the English Premier League. But they also have a title that may even please the fans and make Arteta also very, very happy. So for Arteta, you can say, okay, Charlie, guys, we've played a couple of seasons without trophy, not without a major trophy. This is a Champions League. What's the best way you can do it? It's Real Madrid. Show up and see if you can do it. But it's really going to be a tough game and also really going to be an exciting game.
Right, so we are looking at history. We are looking at pedigree. We are looking at quality. I think the factors are quite a lot. And even if you are considering the opposition they both faced, you'll be thinking Real Madrid actually faced a much tougher opposition. But what's coming into play here? Is it the pedigree, the mindset? We've always questioned that mentality of Arsenal, schoolboys mentality. Real Madrid, on the other hand, for the last 20 years, they've not been the best team at any point in Europe. But they always win the biggest competition. So what are we looking at? What's in it for Madrid. How are they going to get the job done? Especially when you look at this Arsenal team that looks a bit depleted with some of the big stars missing.
Well, Jose, you see, you don't necessarily have to get a job done. You just have to pray that the other team doesn't get a job done. You understand? Because if you look at a match against Atletico Madrid in the round of 16, it was not because Madrid got a job done. It was because Atletico Madrid did not get a job done. Because Atletico Madrid should have won that game.
Yeah, the second leg, yeah.
The second leg, yeah. So
the first leg, I think.
If you comparatively analyze both games, you realize that Atletico Madrid had majority of the chances in the second leg.
Yeah.
You see, so sometimes Madrid had been lucky. You know, it is not because they are not that good. I get to the point, because you need luck to be on your part if you are good. Because even if you had a bit of luck on your side and you are not good, you are not effective, you are not efficient, you might have the luck, but you might not be able to have the quality to win.
Yeah.
You get it? So sometimes it is not because of what they are doing well, but it's because of what opposition is not doing right. You understand? So against Arsenal, I feel that if they had Bukayo Saka playing, you understand? I mean, is
he back? Is he training?
Yeah. He's training. He's back. But you see, you can't just throw in Bukayo Saka into a match like this, you understand? Because the stakes are very high. So the question is going to be that, are you going to gamble his fitness?
You ask, is he even match fit? That's the point.
No, it doesn't matter, you understand? Because you see, there's a certain level of quality that even if you have 10-20 minutes, it shows on the pitch, you understand? So are you going to wait to introduce him in the 70th minute, in the 65th minute, depending on the passage of play? Or are you going to start him? You see, so if you look at the front three of Arsenal, you have Martinelli, you have Gabriel Jesus, you have what's the name? Trossard, you have Kai Havertz, and these are players that are not going to give you goals. These are players that are not going to, let you sit on tentacles. You understand? They are not going to create any sort of magic from anywhere. The only player that creates magic for Arsenal is either Odegaard or Bukayo Saka. And in the absence of Bukayo Saka, it is only Odegaard. And if there is a bit of a drop in the form of Odegaard, it affects the totality of the attacking play. Defensively, there's a different situation altogether, because they've been very, very solid. You understand? I mean, if you compare the central defensive pairing of Gabriel and then was Saliba, they've been very fantastic. You understand? And then you come to the midfield, where they have Partey, where they have Odegaard, where they have Declan Rice, leading. So you don't necessarily have a problem when it comes to the spine of the team. But is it
scoring the goals is the problem?
And that is the most important.
But that's the same team that put 7 past PSV. Yes, without due respect,
let's not go ahead of ourselves. You understand? There's no way you are going to competitively, right? Compare PSV.
No, but they were ruthless on the day, because with an XG of less than 2 and scoring 7, it tells you that sometimes it's very, good to have the goals being shared, across board.
Sometimes it's good to have the goals being shared across board. But the difficulty in that is that when the players who are able to get you one are not scoring, then you need a focal point to get you the goal. Because if you look at a team like Madrid, they don't necessarily share the goals. You understand? It is dependent on Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, Bellingham to get you the goals. And you are certain, you are assured
that the goals will come.
The goals are going to come. So if maybe along the way the other players are able to chip in a couple of goals, it just aids. Right. You get a point, but you are certain.
But which one is more effective? Having some trusted people who can get the job done, or just knowing that Arsenal could score from set pieces, especially corners, and you have the midfielders also joining sometimes when, as far as goal scoring is concerned. Which one makes it even more reliable?
I think, in football, at least you need to have players that are going into games with the mindset that I have to score a goal. That's what out and out strikers go into games with. So they go into games, and when they don't score, they consider themselves as failures in that match. When you have players in your team like that, that's how you increases your chances of scoring goals. That's why teams buy strikers. If not, you buy midfielders and go and play a football game. You need somebody who will go into the game with a responsibility that I have to score.
Arsenal do not have that.
Arsenal don't. So when the game ends, so you get to, like Ronaldo be in a game. The game, his team will win 7-0. He won't score. Once he hasn't scored, he's not a happy man. In as much as the team has won the game. And I think that's what Arsenal and every football club looks out for. Players that go into games with a mindset that I
You
have
to score a goal.
You get me? When you have that in your team, those people, when everybody is not scoring, they know that it is their responsibility to score. Didier Drogba, when times are tough. Samuel Eto'o, when times are tough. Asamoah Gyan, when times are tough. Like, they go into the game knowing that my job is to score. Give me the ball. Lewandowski. Like, we got Erling Haaland. No matter how bad the team is playing, they know that their job is to score. We have other players that are good goal scorers, naturally. Frank Lampard, Fabregas, Iniesta. They are good goal scorers, but if they finish the game and they don't score,
they are good to go.
Exactly.
No, but
you see, Josiah, it is not only the responsibility of the strikers to know that they're going to get a goal. You understand?
Okay.
As a supporter, when you are in a difficult patch, especially when maybe in a match, in a Champions League final, in an FA Cup final, in a most difficult patch, you know that at the end of the day, there's one particular player who's going to get you a goal if he's on the field. For example, if you look at the 2012 Champions League finals, in the dying embers of the game, if you're a Chelsea fan, right, and there's this Drogba on the pitch, you are rest assured that if we have time, a goal is going to come. And it came. In the 2008 Champions League finals, Chelsea lost the finals because Drogba was not on the pitch. You see, so there are certain situations where you need a natural goal scorer whose tendency is to score goals. And that's exactly what Arsenal is missing. So if like the lad did indicate, you can spread the goals across, right? Then it takes away the certainty of who is going to score. But if you are certain that Kylian Mbappe is going to get you a goal, if you are certain that what's the name, Vini is going to get you a goal, if you are certain that Rodrigo is going to get you a goal, it means that what the probability goes up.
But tactically, don't you think that's how teams manage to get these players out of games? Because with Arsenal, you don't know, there is no danger man. What are you going for?
You can't get Kylian Mbappe out of a game. For how long? For how long can you get Vinicius Junior out of the game? For how long can you mark Rodrigo out of the game? Remember that if you have a striker averaging a goal per game, or if you have a striker averaging a goal and a half per game, it is you see, you don't have to be present for the whole 90 minutes. You do not have to be. It is in the moments that we see how effective, how efficient you are. So when you are impactful, probably when the chances come, that is when we know, or that is when we see how effective you are. That is why in a game you could see a centre forward not being effective, not having any impact on the passage of the game. But at the end of the day, it's going to get you the most important thing. And the most important thing in this game is not the clean sheet, it's the goals. And that is the reason for which Madrid has been where they are today.
We are looking at corner Arsenal and a spirited Madrid. I don't know which one could be over two legs. An Arsenal side that, wouldn't be so flamboyant, but then we've seen them being very, very efficient. We are looking at Madrid, a team that someone would say they played a game with like some weird, so which one are we looking at? Which one do we think could, at the end of, over two legs, we are looking at a team that has the most likely chance, of qualifying?
I think Real Madrid. Like, if Arsenal ends up knocking out Real Madrid, it will be a big surprise, isn't it?
Like seriously?
Yeah.
How big of a surprise would that be?
If Arsenal manages to beat Real Madrid in the Champions League.
No, you think it's going to be? No, they are not overwhelming favorites, are they?
No, you see, statistically, if you look at the markets, right? The market is saying that Arsenal are favorites.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Over two legs?
Yes. In this.
No, because they are playing at home. Obviously.
But over two legs, there are passages that will determine who the likely winner is going to be. You understand? One, availability of players, mentality, form, and sometimes you might also say referee decisions do count. You understand? But with everything being equal, with the preamble being equal, you don't see on a scale of 1 to 10. You can't say that Arsenal is going to qualify. No. And you put it on a scale. So
you both go in for a Real Madrid to qualify.
If everything being equal, Madrid is going to qualify. Not because they are far better than Arsenal. Madrid doesn't need to be better to win the Champions League. You see, for the like you rightly indicated, for the past 2 decades, Madrid hasn't been flamboyant. Madrid hasn't been the better team. the seasons they have won the Champions League. If you look at the Champions League they won against Juventus, if you look at the one they won against Dortmund, if you look at the one they won against what's the name, Bayern, Atletico Madrid.
Liverpool.
They were outplayed. I get to the point. But at the end of the day, that is not what matters. What matters is that you get a job done. And how do you get a job done? By scoring the goals. So it boils down to, you see, if you look at the year they won it against Liverpool, where they beat Man City, I think, with the two last, I think 1 minute in the 90th minute, scored 2 goals in the 90th minute. That is what we are talking about. Which team being a goal down, right, in the 90th minute, is still going to have the momentum, is still going to have the edge to go out there and then bring up bangers. And you see, they don't have this defeatist mindset. Even if it's 20 seconds to go, 10 seconds to go,
believe.
They still believe. It is the belief that makes the difference. And that is what Arsenal has lacked. Because if you look at when they were even leading Man City by 10 points in their own Premier League, you understand? I mean, they were not able to sustain that league. So it just tells you that when it comes to form, yes, they might urge it a bit. But when it comes to the other conditions that makes it necessary, or that makes it imperative for you to win, which is the mentality, which is the mindset, which is the history, which is the totality of what the players represent, Arsenal do not have it.
Interesting. All right. So with both pundits going for Real Madrid to qualify over Arsenal, that's quite. I'll go for an Arsenal, win in the first leg and then perhaps to qualify. Though I don't think this should be unanimous. All right. But there's one other big one. Paris Saint-Germain up against Villa. So let's look at the dynamics over here. So at some point, Unai Emery was manager at PSG. He wasn't good enough. He went to Spain. Villa hijacked him. He's now their coach, qualified to the Champions League. Already they're into the quarterfinals. And they come up against his former side, now being managed by a coach who has won it before. A coach who has been, tagged as one of the best Spanish tacticians, in Luis Enrique. Now, I do not know, but are we going to write off Villa from the onset, looking at the quality, and especially the midfield trio of PSG? Ruiz, Vitinha, and Joao Neves. We are talking about arguably the best midfield trio in world football now. Delali, you think at this point Villa should just think that it's just over? That's the end of the road.
No, I don't think so. Because I think Villa this season Villa naturally under Emery have been very great.
Yeah.
They've punched above their weights. They've exceeded a lot of people's expectations, and they've been a side that have always surprised the world. And the fact that they are here, even in the group stages of the Champions League, they were one of the better sides. It's a lot of goals scored, with a lot of performances that surprises everybody. Even domestically, they've been very great. So, if you look at the teams and both pedigree in their club, in their country, you may think it's going to be a straight win for PSG, but I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think it's going to be an easy win for
Paris Saint-Germain. But you still tip them to be favorites?
Yeah, obviously, yes, they are favorites in this competition. If you look at games like this, usually the underdogs sometimes feels like, yeah, we've come far, it's okay. Once players go into games with that mentality, it tends to affect how much they can give. But Emery is an experienced manager. He's won the European trophy before. The European Champions League, the Europa League, he's won it before. He's a serial winner in Europe for that matter. In as much as the individual players in Aston Villa may not be serial winners or experienced winners, he's been there before. He's tasted what it means to be in competitions that gives you European respect. So I think it's about how he as a coach will be able to get these players to be motivated enough to play. For PSG, they'll be very, very motivated coming at the back of being able to eliminate Liverpool in the most interesting manner. Go to Anfield where people have basically written them off. Like how many people thought that after losing at home,
they were going to lose.
They were going to England and going to win. Anfield, a ground that everybody has mentioned that it's been a tough one. But for them to be able to beat Liverpool, they didn't just beat Liverpool.
They outplayed them.
Tactically, system-wise, they showed them pepper and made it uncomfortable for them. Mind you, Liverpool this season has been one of the best performing teams in Europe. Like they've been very great. They are not riding on vibes like Real Madrid, where Real Madrid are winning games, but sometimes it's a bit of luck. For Liverpool, they've been very, very good. So for PSG to outplay them tactically, not based on luck, that just tells you the kind of quality and the kind of players or the kind of football that Enrique is playing with this side. You know, I mean, yes, he's been a coach before at PSG, but it's a different PSG now. Let's be honest. Also.
Interesting.
Like he is. When he was at PSG, they were relying on big names. Like the system was different. Now, young players, non-conventional players, proper European football. The PSG, by this time, they'll be out of the Champions League.
Wow.
But you see now they are here, they are beating big teams. Like you know they play against Barcelona where they were leading Barcelona
like 4 years and they ended up losing.
Like this is a different PSG. So but also from experience in football, I can tell you that at least has little experience about PSG. That may help him out, like how the team prepares for games, the mentality of the team, how he can hurt them. Is on paper you may think it's going to be a straightforward win, but I think it's going to be one of the exciting.
Quickly, Force, I know you've been impressed with Villa, but we are looking at a PSG team that looks so solid. Even in their game against Liverpool, you're thinking, how did they even, come up with such a performance that shocked, virtually everyone? You still think you could give Villa, a chance in this one?
You see, you don't in the quarters of the Champions League. If you are not good enough, you wouldn't be there. You understand? And if you look at the performance of PSG across the two legs that they faced, what's the name? Liverpool. They like Della rightly indicated, they did not only beat Liverpool, they annihilated them. You understand? I mean, they taught Liverpool how to play football. It is not because of how the players were or how good the players were. You understand? It is about the tactical understanding and the shape of the team, and that is because of Luis Enrique. You see, when you talk about football ideas, there are coaches who are not bent on one ideology or one philosophy. They are open to different ideas based on the strength of their players, based on the type and profile of the players that they have. Unlike other coaches who are idealistically one way. You understand? And they would want to groom the players into that system. This is a coach who brings out the best of every single player. If somebody would, are you sure somebody would have foretold that Rios, Vitinha, João Neves would have been playing such fantastic football? It's impossible, because prior to the coming of Luis Enrique, these were not renowned midfielders. But they are playing football to the extent that comparatively, you can even say that they are channeling energies that we knew were associated with someone like this Barcelona, legends, Iniesta and Xavi. Yeah, I mean they play.
Iniesta, Xavi,
no, seriously.
They are good players.
Especially, you see, I don't necessarily watch the league. You understand? But in the Champions League where they've turned up, especially against Liverpool, where you had, some of the best midfielders in the game playing for Liverpool, and for 180 minutes they could not touch the ball. For 180 minutes they could not understand where the spaces are for them to occupy. So it just tells you the elevated, understanding of tactics. And you see, just like I always tell you that there's a difference between tactics and interpreting the role on the pitch of play, because it can be clear whether you are playing a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, whatever the system is. But how do the players understand? I get to the point. With the ball or without the ball. And if you look at this PSG team, they work as hard off the ball or on the ball. That is why if you look at Dembele, he doesn't have the luxury to enjoy the game when he has the ball and then relax when he doesn't have the ball. Off the pitch, he does a lot of running. So, off the pitch, off the ball, he does a lot of running. You understand? So, you see the mentality that Luis Enrique has instilled in them. One, discipline. One, you play for the team, not for yourself. So, it has aided PSG to come this far. Then you go to Aston Villa. You see, Aston Villa is a minnow when it comes to the quarters of the Champions League. If we were talking about the 50s and the 60s, Aston Villa would be the bigger club. You understand? But now Aston Villa is the minnow. But you see, you don't have to write off Aston Villa. This is a club that has invested massively in players. And remember that they have two of the most exciting players when it comes to attacking football. In what's the name?
Marco Asensio and Rashford.
Marco Asensio and then Marcus Rashford. You see, these two players are players that on a good day can get you goals. And up to now, they've been able to carry Aston Villa thus far. You understand? So it is about Unai Emery understanding and anticipating that on an equal basis, on an equal footing, there's not, and I should say that it is improbable for Aston Villa to match PSG squarely. So they will have to admit and either play in a defensive low block or be on the counter attack. But if they want to come out, or if they want to come all out and want to play like the way they've been playing in the EPL or the way they've been playing previously in the Champions League, it's going to be very bad for them. So they will have to understand that yes, they don't have the quality to match PSG. But this is the Champions League over 2 legs. It's difficult for you to predict. So I would say that it's going to be one of the toughest matches on paper and on the field.
Quickly, let's run through the other 2 fixtures. I believe Inter Bayern is a huge one. The last time these two met, I think it was in the 2010. I'm not sure if they met after that. In the
2010 finals.
2010 finals when Jose Mourinho was manager of Inter Milan. It's an interesting. Unfortunately, it's been overshadowed by the Arsenal Real Madrid game. But this on any day should be a
tough game.
It should be
I think
a
it
tight
should
one.
be a tough game for both teams. Bayern themselves faced a more, in my opinion, a more tough opponent in the person of Leverkusen. Because domestically Leverkusen were very great, but they showed up in the Champions League and were like small boys. For Inter, they had Feyenoord, come on. Yeah, it's Feyenoord, it's Champions League, but come on, it's Feyenoord.
It's the same Feyenoord that beat Milan.
No, come on, they beat the Milan themselves, Milan and their stories, so a team managed to beat like AC Milan, come on, not really, but not to disrespect Feyenoord, but as I said earlier with Aston Villa, there are some teams that when they get to a certain level in competitions, the players tend to feel like we've done enough. Once we've done enough sets in, it affects how you perform in games. Remember Ajax under Ten Hag. Once the player said we've done enough,
that was all. And they lost painfully to
but you see, not to cut you short. You see, it is then the responsibility of the coach. I get to the point, because if you look at Ajax in football, Ajax is not a team that gets to the semis or the quarters and should say that they've done enough, because this is a team that won the Champions League 4 times. This is a team that in the 70s, in the 80s, and in the 90s were dominating world football alongside Real Madrid and then Juventus. So on what basis then should they, as players, be content, getting to the quarters and then the semis? So it is then the responsibility of the coaches and then the hierarchy of the club to let them know the history of the club.
I think you get a point. It's more the teams and the coaches and what they have to do. But if you look, not to digress, but if you look at Ajax that time, everybody in the world were fascinated by their performance. And once it gets to that end, players feel like, yeah, it's okay. I think what they've done. One of them is even the recent African Cup of Nations when Nigeria lost the final.
You thought it was because they felt no one expected us to be here. We're here.
Once the team feel like Ghana 2019 AFCON. We're going to do well, went all the way to the finals, and it was like, nah, we've done well. Remember after that, I think they were giving cars, and so once teams start feeling like that, players start to reduce the motivation gets reducing, and it affects them. So for me, I think Inter Bayern Munich themselves and company have been blowing hot and cold. I think this should be one of the games that would test company properly. Because at least domestically, some of the games are the PSG win. But once you go into Europe and you are facing tough opponents, like we're expecting Bayern Leverkusen to give them like a run for them. But it was also a normal German game where they just walk past them. So maybe this Inter game would properly test Bayern.
You think Bayern coming up against the best defensive side in the Champions League this season? Inter so difficult. I wonder how teams even manage to play against them, because they are so difficult to beat, like in the UEFA Champions League. The only time they've considered so far this season was when, they considered twice in that game against Feyenoord in the second leg. So prior to that, it was only that game against Bayer Leverkusen. But you think company and this current Bayern Munich team have got enough quality, and experience to, gun down Inter Milan?
Josiah, there are teams that no matter how good defensively you are, you can ascertain whether you are going to come out of that game with a clean sheet, especially a team being led by Harry Kane. Do you understand? I mean, see, for the past decade or for the past 2 decades, when you are talking about natural goal scorers who are good with the ball, who are good footballers as well, Harry Kane should be one of them. Nobody can. The fact that he hadn't won any trophy yet, or the fact that he hadn't, achieved that status yet, cannot diminish what he's been able to achieve when it comes to goal scoring.
Yeah.
If Harry Kane had stayed in the English Premier League, he would have broken
Shearer's record.
Easily. So playing against Inter Milan, led by Diego Simeone, led by Felipe Simeone.
Yeah, sorry.
Felipe Simeone. It's going to be a tough ask. But when you have Gnabry, when you have Harry Kane, when you have Olise, one of the most exciting young players in the world today, you cannot write them off. You understand? And you see, one thing that the Bayern hierarchy had realized is the fact that the dominance in the German Bundesliga is becoming too much. They are not going to play second fiddle to anybody in the German Bundesliga, but they want to take that dominance to Europe. You understand? And it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter how well you play. It's about winning and playing attacking football. That is why Bayern is more open nowadays to concede goals. But what they've turned into is the Real Madrid of the early 21st century, where defensively they were poor. Do you understand? But they score goals. That is what this Bayern has turned into. They concede a lot of goals, but they score a lot of goals. So at the end of the day, this is going to be an open game, especially if Inter comes to play. But if Inter wants to be in a low block, then it's going to be difficult for goals to come about. But if Inter feels that they can have a go at Bayern, if Inter feels that they've got the necessary striker, because Inter has got some of the best strikers in the world. If you look at Thuram, if you look at the Argentine guy, their captain, Lautaro Martinez. These are 2 fantastic strikers. You understand? And then defensively, they are astute as well. So if you go into a game and you have some of the best strikers in your team, but you are not able to express yourself, you want to be in a defensive low block, it affects the quality of the strikers that you have. But if you believe, and you say tactically, or if the analysts of Inter Milan study this Bayern very well, I doubt they are going to be in the defensive shape. Because if you have a go at Bayern, you are going to get goals. Because you look at what happened over the weekend, where they won 3-2.
Yeah.
It just indicates, that shows you that, because even against Bochum, you understand? I mean, they were losing that game before, they came back to win 3-2. So it just shows you that what there are goals in the team, but they also concede goals. Considering the fact that Manuel Neuer is out injured. So it's going to be a difficult match. I think this match is even bigger than the Real Madrid Arsenal game. But considering the fact that it is Real Madrid in the other game, so it's going to be quite difficult for me to call. But over 2 legs, it's going to be who can outscore the other.
Okay, quickly, the Barcelona. I think that's the most one-sided game we have so far. In the round of 8. It's so one-sided. But should we expect something like quickly, like some 30 seconds?
If Barcelona has a chance of winning a major trophy in recent times, I think it's this season.
Yeah.
I think they've been great this season.
Yeah, the stars are beginning to align for them.
They find
it's not the stars. Sorry, it's not the stars being aligned. It is because of Hansi Flick.
No, but sometimes you get a lack of the draw as well. For you to draw,
you see
to beat Benfica.
No, Dortmund.
It doesn't on the better side of the draw.
Yes, that's how you could be good
on the better side of the draw. But if you look at the football that they are playing currently, you understand? I mean, the whole of this.
Are they the best in Europe? Of course, they are not the best in Europe.
No, see,
they are not the best.
Comparatively,
in football, sometimes you need a bit of luck. So I
think they've had, because to play Benfica and then also draw Borussia Dortmund should tell you that at least, because they are the only team to have not met Eddie, so far.
When did Aston Villa meet?
So play Brugge.
Club Brugge.
Yeah.
And then who again?
They've met PSG.
Okay, they are not meeting PSG.
Yeah.
And then, you see, Dortmund was in the Champions League
final last season.
So
but we are looking at the strength of Dortmund now and how poor
bet.
Nobody's taking the credit away from Hansi Flick and the job he's been able to do. But in football, every coach will also tell you that you need a bit of luck.
Exactly. No, imagine Barca playing Liverpool in the round of 16. Can you imagine?
That would have been more difficult.
Yeah, that's the
That would
point.
have
So,
been more
yeah.
difficult.
That's what we're talking
But it's
about.
not only about the stars align. It's about what Hans Flick has been able to
And
do.
sometimes you need the lack of the draw to
Of
get to
course
where
you
you want
need
to
the
get.
lack of the draw,
Okay,
but-
your predictions before we.
I think Barcelona should win.
You think Barcelona?
5-0.
I'm a doomsday. I'm going for a Borussia Dortmund.
5-0. 5-0.
I'm going to. Right. So it's been a comprehensive, discussion with regards to the games coming off in the UEFA Champions League quarter final stage. So there's Arsenal, Real Madrid. There's Bayern Munich, Inter. There's PSG, Aston Villa, and then also there's Barcelona taking on Borussia Dortmund. What are your predictions, and which teams do you think will be moving or advancing into the semi-finals? You can have all the comment section to yourself and then comment with your predictions, and then also which teams you'll be rooting out for. Thanks so much, guys, for your time, and you. Thanks. Bye.